Hello crazy coders, welcome to the second video on our Python GUI projects with Tkinter, and today we will make a URL shortener which will look something like this. It will have an input area, it will have an output area, it will have two buttons which is shorten and clear. It will also have the paste and copy buttons with respective icons, and if you press this copy button you will get a message copied which will disappear after a few seconds. And also if you enter any wrong web address and try to shorten it, it will give you invalid address as an output. And also the clear button, it will clear all the contents. So now you know what we want to create. Let's try to understand what are the modules we will use to create this. The first thing, we will use PyShorteners to shorten the URL. We will use Pillow to work with images. We use Clipboard module to access and modify the contents of the clipboard. We use Validators module to validate the URL the user will input, and of course Tkinter as a main GUI framework. You can install them through VS Code terminal by typing the pip install command respectively. Now let's start coding. So I've already installed all the mentioned modules. If you face any error regarding the installment of any of the module, do let me know in the comment section. I will surely help you out. Now first we will build the UI. So for that, first we will import our Tkinter, and from Tkinter we will import all. Okay, after that we'll create a window, which we can do it by instantiating the Tk class. We will set the title, and the title will be URL shortener. Okay, now let's get the window into main loop. Yes, now save it and run. Yeah, our window is ready with the title URL short, but the default window is very short, so let's change it. We can change it using window.geometry, and I want to keep it 700 into 200. Let's save it, run. Yes, now we have a good looking window default opening. Okay, now let's try to place widget. So first widget I want to place is our input box, which is our entry widget. I will store it in entry. Okay, now I'll give it our window where we want to place, and I will give it a font of 20. Which makes it look good. And now I'll use the place method to place it on the window. So first thing, I want to make it flexible according to the window. So for that I will use rel width, which basically means relative width, relative to the window, and I want to keep 60%, and I want it to start at 20% of the window always, which I placed with rel y, and I want it to start always at 20% from the left. So now let's save it and run it. So as you can see, our entry widget is ready, which is 20% from the top and 20% from the left, which is 20% from the x and 20% from the y. But the amazing thing about using the rel x, rel y or rel width, it makes it flexible. It makes it change automatically with the changing size of the window. No matter where I change, it always remain 0.2, 0.2 and 0.6. This will always remain 60% in the total width of the window. Okay, so that's great. Now let's try to create a paste button. So for that I will first create a paste key variable, and I will create a button. Okay, for this I will use window. Okay, now for timing, let's keep other parameters empty. Now let's try to place this. So now I want to place it before entry widget. So for that I will use rel x 0.16 because that position looks good, and for rel y I will keep it 0.2 only. Now let's try to run it. Yes, we have button, but it's empty because now we will place the paste icon on this button. Let's try to do it. While working with images, we use Pillow module in Python. So we have already installed it. Now let's import it. Now from pill, which is an alias for pillow, we'll import image and image tk. So what image will do is, it will have a lot of function. We'll use it to resize our image, and image tk will help us to convert that image into a Tkinter image, which basically means after converting it into a Tkinter image, we will be able to use those images on our widgets. Now let's do it. The first thing, I will open our paste image. We already have a paste.png, which is a paste icon. Now I'll open it. So for that we just have to do, so first of all I create a variable, and to open image I have to just do image.open, and I have to just provide the name of the file. Okay, that's done. Now let's resize it. So for that I will use a resized paste image, resize paste, and for resizing you just have to use the image, which is paste, and you just have to use the resize function. And in resize you just have to provide two things, which is in what pixel you want to do, which is I want to 2020, and you pass another parameter, which is image dot anti-alias. Basically, what is anti-alias? Anti-alias is a filter, and while resizing you may lose some quality, but this filter protects it from losing the quality. So now let's continue. Let's convert a resized image into a Tkinter image. For that we'll use image dk.photo image, and we'll pass the resized paste photo. Now to put it on the button, we just have to alter the image parameter with new paste. So now let's save it and try to run. So yeah, we have the button and we have the icon on the button. Okay, that's great. Now let's continue. So now we will create 2 more buttons for shortening and for clearing. Okay, so shorten the is button. Oh, I will provide this and I will provide text. So text will be shortened. Okay, that's great. Now I'll place this where I want to place, just below our entry widget. So for that I will use rel x as 0.4 and I will use rel y as 0.35. Now let's see how it looks. So yeah, it looks good. I want to create another one which is for clearing. Again, I want to provide the window, I want to provide the text which is clear, and while placing it I want to place it again below our entry widget. So for rel x I will use 0.5 and for rel y I will use I think 0.35. Okay, this looks good. Let's try. Yeah, this looks good. Now let's create our label widget, which is our output area. So for that I will use L, and again we use label. Now this time I will use BG as white, which is background color. I will make the font also a little big this time, which is 20. So now let's place it. Where should I place this? With rel. Okay, this seems so rel width I will give it 60. And with rel x I will do 0.2, which is 20% from the left, and with rel y I want to keep it 0.5. Now let's try, let's see it, let's run. Okay, it looks good, but let's try to increase the top. So now it looks good. The distance between the button and the label increased. Okay, let's try to give it a relief. So what is relief? I will give it, sunken. So let's try to run. Okay, it is looking somewhat like a entry widget, but it's a label widget. So what relief did is it made it look like it's sunken, right? It's gone deep, and we can see some border as well. So that's great. Now let's create a copy button. For that I will mostly copy this code and I'll paste this. So now I will change all the parameters. Now you must have also noticed that we have a copy icon as well, but even this image is like not well resized for our button, so we are also doing the same logic here. Since we want the same resize, we are keeping all the other things same. And also I want to change the position as well. From the X, yeah, it should be 1.6. But from Y, from the top, I want to keep it beside the label. So I will use 5.5. Sorry, 0.55. Now let's save it. Let's run. Okay, I have the UI ready. Now let's try to create the functionalities for our button. So first let's start with the smallest. I will code the clear button. Okay, let's do it. For that I have to provide the command clear. And what I will do is I will go on the top and create the clear function. So basically we just have to clear our entry widget, which we can do it by delete 0 and passing the end to it. And now to delete or to clear the contents of the label, you just have to do l.config, and in the config we just have to convert the text into empty text. We are done. So now let's enter something and let's say yes, it's working. And now let's try to code our paste and copy buttons. So for that we'll import another module which we have already installed, which is import clipboard, so which will allow us to get the contents of the clipboard. So for that where is a paste button is here. I will create a paste function for it, but I have to provide it to command. And again with the copy button where command. Okay, now let's go and create this. So def copy. So in the copy function I just have to copy the text in the label widget. So what I'll do is clipboard.copy, and to get the text on the label we can do l.cget function, and we can pass a text to it. So this way we'll get the text from the label. So that's we are done. And in the paste we just have to paste the contents of the clipboard to the entry widget. So for that we just have to do like entry dot delete. First of all I will remove all the contents while before pasting. For that I will use this, and again after deleting we just have to insert our clipboard contents. For that insert index 0 and clipboard dot paste. Okay, so that's how we are done. But also one more thing, when I showed the demo, we used to get a copied message whenever we are clicking on the copy. So for that I will create a label widget. C is equal to label, and I will of course on the window, but text will be copied, and I want the color should be green. Looks cool. And now I will just pack it it will appear on the top, but after some time I want to delete as well. So for that we have an after function, which we can do a window dot after, and we have to provide how many seconds. Let's keep it 2 seconds, which is 2000 ms. And after passing this, we have to provide a function. Basically we want to hide, so I will destroy it. So c dot destroy. So what this will do, whenever we click on the clipboard, it will copy all the contents of the label, and it will create a new label with the text copied and a green color, and it will destroy that label after 200 ms, which is 2 seconds. So that's great. Now I've saved the file. Now let's try to run it. So now if I click on copy, we have the copy color, but its background is blue. Sorry, background is green. So let's try not to change it. So let's keep it black only, but increase the font. Okay. Now let's save it. Okay, not 20. Yes. Okay, now if I click yes, the content copy appeared and disappeared after 2 seconds. So that's great. Now let's check if our paste button is working or not. Let's type something. Okay, let's type crazy coders and let's copy it. Let's copy it actually. Yes. If I paste it, we are not getting it. So we are getting an error actually. Entry object has no attribute insert. So it's not insert, it's insert. Okay. Now this should work. So I should cancel this. This should work. Yes, it's working. That's great. Clear is working. The only function we are about to create is shorten. Where is the shorten button? Yes, here it is. So I will just command shorten. I'll create a function named shorten. I will actually shorten this. And now let's def shorten. And so in the shorten, basically first thing we have to do is get the contents of the entry widget, which I will store in the link. And to get from the entry widget, we just have to do this. Okay, that's great. Now I want to validate this text. Basically I want to check if it's valid a URL or not. For that we have to import another module, which is like import validators. We already installed it, so that's great. Now let's validate. So for that I will use valid variable, and from validators.url I will pass this link, but I will pass it by using https, and then I will actually add the link. Okay, that's great. So it will validate the URL, and if it's there on the internet, it will return true, or else it will return false. But if it returns true, which is if valid is equal to true, then what we do is we shorten it. So like short, it's variable. So to shorten it, we have to import the PyShorteners, which we from PyShorteners import shortener. Okay, that's great. Now from shortener, we'll use a Tinyurl API. So for that Tinyurl, so this is not this capital T. So from tinyurl.short, we'll just pass the link. Great. So now after shortening, we just have to display it on the label. So for that, ql.config text is equal to, what is this? It will be just short, right? That's great. Else, so if it's not a valid, we just have to make the user know that it's not valid. So for that, invalid address. Okay, I hope this works. Let's try it. So we are done with all the buttons. Now let's test them. The first thing I want to check is the shorten button. It's www.youtube.com. So let's try to shorten this URL, and it's checking. So there's nothing here. It means we have a error. So this is very big error. So let's create it. Let's try to read the error. So HTTP connection pool read timeout. Okay, let's try again actually. And let's try to shorten it. Okay, we were able to shorten it. Now let's copy this. Yes, copy it. Now let's go to Google and let's try to paste it. Yes, we're able to copy as well. And if I click here, clear, yes, that's also working. If yes, every button is working as accordingly. And the error I think was because of my internet connection. It was unable to access the URL host, maybe. That was error. But if the same error is coming to you, please do let me know in the comments. I will help you out. But that was it from this video. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you up in the next video.